Welcome back to the podcast with the Rosaio team. And today we are talking about creepy things in real estate. So we're going to share some stories from everybody. Who wants to go first?
I volunteer Caitlin.
So I actually don't have a lot of creepy things that have happened at showings. The one thing I can think of that was a little eerie was I lived next door to a house that was on the market, and I was kind of sitting on my porch. I didn't have any clients that I was showing the house to, but I was kind of watching the activity, like watching what was going down. And I had an agent come over to my porch and kind of call me in for backup because a man, I guess from the neighborhood, had weaseled his way into the house and was just kind of scaring away all the clients that were coming to see the house. Wow. I guess an agent had let him in. He told an agent he was also an agent. This is why we always have to be checking for business cards before we let someone in piggybacking on a showing. And he just stayed there, and the agent who had approached me, his client, had gotten there first, and the man led her into the house and was just saying some like unhinged things about how he was the owner and he wasn't going anywhere, and he definitely was not the owner. And it took me and the other agent to talk this guy down and kind of get him to vacate the property. So kind of been a scary situation. Ultimately, it was just a little creepy.
That's very creepy.
Yeah,
for sure.
So when I was probably 1 or 2 months in the industry, and this is back when houses were sitting. The houses could sit on the market for 6 months to a year, and that was common. So I was showing a property in Union Park Gardens to police clients of mine, and I had a couple police clients, and they all had to move into the city. So I was showing the same house that I had shown earlier that week for a second time to a second set of clients. This was a vacant property, and we go inside this house, and there's clothing spread out all over the floor. And we looked down into the basement, and there were plastic snakes everywhere. We didn't know they were plastic. The wife and I ran out of the house. The husband, he was the police officer. He went and investigated. Apparently, it was being sold by sisters. I guess it was an inherited home. And the one sister didn't realize there was a showing, so she was pranking her other sister.
Oh God.
And she was actually in the house. She had no idea, but that freaked me out.
I respect it.
Yeah.
I would definitely freak. Yeah, for sure. So I feel like nothing like crazy creepy has happened during showings, but I always get a vibe if I'm in like, not always. So sometimes I get a vibe if I'm in a house where I'm like, I don't know, like I just feel like something, like the energy is off or something. And one of my clients had told me one time I was showing her this property, and she was like, no, that like this house is good. Like there's no spirits or anything here. And I was like, well, how do you know that? And she was like, I have a feeling. Like I know when like something has happened or when like a spirit is in the property, because they went to this other property. Well, she said she just always has had that like sixth sense. But they had toured another property a long time ago. And she immediately was like, I have like, we have to get out of here. Like, this is not the one. Like, I'm feeling like something is off. Something happened here. And they had asked, and something did happen. There was like a fire, and the man died in the basement. And so she said she felt it. And I was like, I get the chills now. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is just, it's.
But the house you were showing her got the all clear.
Yeah. She was like, this is clear. I said, good. I'm glad. But I think like other like weird stuff like has happened. Like we go into a basement one time, me and one of my clients, we're just like looking around. It was an unfinished basement. And my client Teresa was like, Amber, look up. And I look up, and there's like handcuffs tied.
Oh,
like
that can go either way.
Yeah.
So I was like, I I was like, this is kind of creepy. I don't know what happened down here, but something.
You do see some crazy
Something
things.
happened.
Something. Yeah.
I had a really creepy experience when I was staging one of our listings. It was a historical house. I don't know when it was built, 18 or was it 19? Like, it's very old.
I don't remember the.
You know which one I'm talking
I know which one you're talking about. Yes.
It's very old, historical home. And there were many times that I'm there by myself, like finishing up, and they had moved all the furniture out. And we had a bunch of stuff in the garage. So it was kind of like up and down, back and forth. And there's this desk that they moved into the garage that was, in the house. And the drawer from the inside was on top for the longest time. Like, I had been there for a couple days, and the drawer, whatever, I'd walked by it plenty of times. There wasn't really much in there, like random change and like, I don't know, some pens and just random junk, but not a bunch of stuff. And I don't know, like on one of the days I was finishing up, I walked by the same desk that I've walked by like 1,000 times. And there was a thing of Post-its like in the desk drawer that I never saw before. Like, I swear I had looked into this desk drawer like 1,000 times because it was right next to all of our stuff. And on the Post-it note in pencil, like, was literally written in like chicken scratch. It was like, this house is haunted. You have to leave.
Oh my.
This was before the house was even on the market. No one had been
Like,
there.
I remember I was shook because it was also like getting kind of dark at that time. Like, I was there later because, again, like, I feel like we were getting pictures like the next day or something, like, and I was so scared because it was like the creepiest handwriting, like what it said. And I was like, it could be someone messing with me, but also like, how did this just like, I've literally never noticed this, and I've looked at this desk drawer 1,000 times.
I don't remember this story.
I didn't like told you guys. Like, I remember sending it to my friends and being like, I am shook. Like, I was really like,
Oh, I would have been
to
out.
the post.
Yeah.
Like, I was really scared.
I would have been like, somebody's coming back to the house with me.
I mean, it was already like, I loved that house, but it was already like creepy. Like, it was just like old, like you would hear stuff because
I know what house
just,
you're talking
like,
about.
Yeah, and
it is
that just like,
old.
oh, I was so scared. I remember I called Maul and I was like, he's like, well, stay on the phone with me for as long. I was like, I'm not done. He was like, I'll come back later. Yeah, that was like really, really scary.
I've called Chris during showings, and like, I'm waiting for my clients to get there, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I'm getting like a creepy vibe, and I'm here by myself, and can you just stay on the phone with me until I get here?
Yeah, I've done that. I've shown a property where I was supposed to meet. It was actually a rental client, and we were only communicating through email. So when I went to meet the lady, she never showed up. So I stayed for about like 10, 15 minutes, and I'm like, all right, it's getting kind of late. Well, I see this car that's parked across the street, and there's a guy, like two guys in the car. So immediately, like, all right, this is kind of weird. The guy ends up getting out, and he's like, yeah, is that house for rent? Do you mind if I see it? I'm like, no, we need to schedule an appointment. Which I'm like, I'm wondering if it was him communicating, like as if he was the woman. And I'm like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, that's the rough part about this industry. And I've had an experience like that. I was touring a home that was a comp for a home that I was about to list. And I kind of just wanted to see like what was going on in the neighborhood. And I went into the home and I did lock the doors. I'm pretty good about that. I will always lock the doors after I go into a showing, even if I'm with clients. This particular time I was by myself, and a man came and was knocking on the door, and I went and opened the main door, but the storm door was closed. And he was trying to come in and telling me that he had a showing, and this was the time of his showing. And I was like, well, you can wait for your realtor. But he was pretty aggressive about trying to come in. And then I just closed the door and locked it. And then I bought a birdie alarm system to carry around. We are not sponsored. This is a personal recommendation. It's just a little alarm that you can carry on your keys. I actually bought them for the whole team for the holidays last year.
For all of us.
Yeah, I'm not going to carry around a weapon personally. It's not my thing, but this gives me some peace of mind when I go into a showing. If there's any suspicious activity, you can just pull the alarm and it makes a really loud, obnoxious sound. And just good thing to have in your pocket, literally.
Yeah. I will definitely carry a weapon.
I prefer that.
I'm saying.
For the record.
Just so you know.
9mm.
It's like that reel,
Don't
like
mess
where
with
she's
it.
like, "Where's my gun?" Like when she walks in and she's like, "I got my gun." So
let people
I will definitely carry a weapon. It can be very creepy out there, especially as a woman in real estate.
Definitely.
We have, and I'm not sure if we're going this way with the creepy vibe. But we certainly can, because that's kind of what we do is,
Yeah.
you know,
all
shift.
encompassing.
But yeah, we've gotten some creepy phone calls, creepy pictures. Disgusting is a word I would use. So there's so many levels to the creepiness of real estate. So you have to protect yourself. And it's kind of hard when our information is out there. But yeah, you have to, like you said, lock the door.
I showed a home one time and I was with new clients and I didn't know, it wasn't on the listing agreement or anything on the notes anywhere in the description that there was a tenant in there. So apparently the tenant had moved out, which is fine. That's great for us because now it's vacant. But what we didn't know is they had a dog. So when we did the showing, we went there and there was dog food spread out through the entire house. Not only dog food, but dog dew. So, and it was on the walls and on the floor. It was pretty bad. So we immediately left and I called the listing agent, obviously. But that's something that you don't know until you go and see for yourself. And that's gross.
Yeah. And I think like also the creepiness is going into a house like that where it's like, you know, people's like things can be thrown all over the place and there's some really nasty things that can be in these properties. I think, you know, people are like, "Oh, you're in real estate, so you show all these beautiful luxury homes." And you're like, "Yeah, come to this one with me," you know, and it can be creepy. And I've told some of my clients, like, depending on the situation in here, I may wait outside. And I have waited outside, whether it's the smell or, you
It's
know,
always the smell with you.
the smell. I'm just, smells or,
And it's like, for people not in the industry, the feeling that you get when you're about to walk into a haunted house and you don't know what you're walking into, that's every day for us.
right.
But,
For sure.
yeah, I had a client who was out of state and they were buying a house sight unseen, but I was doing very in-depth video tours. And occasionally one or both of my kids would come. My daughter was then 3 at the time. She was off of school and she was coming to do some video tours with me. She mostly would just like hang out in the backyard. But for this one, she was walking around the house with me and I had it on video. And this family was very friendly. They knew I had a kid, but we were in the basement and she saw her own shadow on the floor and just announced loudly on the video, "Oh, Mom, look, this house has ghosts." And I had to tell my clients on the video, "This house does not have ghosts that we know of. This is a 3-year-old.
And her shadow.
Making assumptions.
Yes.
Or not. Or I just thought of something like dead rodents. Have you ever had
Yes.
come across that? So this one property I was showing, they had a lot of land and there was like a chicken coop / like shed, and we walk in and we go to turn and where the like light switch was, it was there was a dead mouse in there where I guess he had gotten like electrocuted. And he's like, it was like a picture window, like, and we were like, freaked. Yeah.
This is a sensitive subject for me as I'm currently the rodent problem in my home.
I had a listing where we had 2 dead mice in there. And obviously you want the house to look good for the buyers that are coming in. So I against what I wanted to do, I got rid of them.
How?
I just picked up a shovel, put them in the garbage, and mice. I'm so like petrified of mice. Like I'm not scared of much, but
It's good to see in a showing because then you know you can inform your client. There is this activity in this home.
and the home was vacant for like a year, so I can see why. But it was
There is rodent activity here. I can deal with mice. Just don't give me snakes. Or when I'm walking down in a basement that's a vacant house and you know you're walking through cobwebs. You can't undo that easily.
Honestly, I'll deal with mice and snakes and roaches. I can't deal with mold and mildew.
Yeah, for sure.
I can walk into a basement because I'm so allergic to mold
Yeah.
and know if there's like problematic levels of mold and mildew just because my allergies start like acting up. So
You can immediately smell it.
that's too spooky for me.
Yeah.
That is spooky.
Mm. Well, did anybody ever have like a bat situation?
I've heard about
In
that.
my own house.
They're hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
Well, now there's something on the disclosure, like where it asks you if you had bats, and I did. When I was pregnant, there was bats living in my attic. Yeah.
What do you do about that?
So you cannot just go and get rid of them. Like, they are protected. So you have to wait. I had to wait until, so I had my daughter in July. I had to wait until September.
You had a bat in your attic all summer? You're not allowed to get rid of
You cannot,
summer months.
they're protected. So I had to wait until September, had a pest control company come out. What they do is put basically like a one-way out. Like, it's almost like a funnel, like, so they can get out, but they can't get back in. And once they go out, they can't get back in. So what they do is come in and like clear out all the bat poop and then like check the house, because it can be like the size of an eraser.
Shook.
Like, they can,
What's it about the summer months? Why can they just
because of what they
reload
have
the
like
windows?
babies. I think.
Oh, so you could have babies.
So we got to protect the babies. Okay.
We're going to have to put a trigger warning on this podcast. There's a lot of sensitive subjects.
I thought about getting a bat house because like you can,
What does that mean?
so they come back. Like, this is
Like a birdhouse?
it's like a birdhouse, but it's like a bat house. And so basically
Sticky.
you can put one in your yard so that they don't come to your house, right? So it's like, but I mean, they do eat the mosquitoes.
Yeah, they eat them. Bats are welcome here.
Bats welcome. Yeah. I mean, have your own house, not mine. Like, this is not a rental, honey. Like, you gotta go.
Like, how would you attract the bats to the bat house, though?
I don't think you should.
No, I can't imagine building a bat house.
Well, you don't have to build it.
A bat cave. You'd have to call it the bat cave.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty creepy because you could hear them coming in. Like, so
How many bats were there?
I don't know. There were a bunch. But you could hear them.
Who's looking at, like, who's enforcing the bat rules?
Oh, was it dangerous?
Denver, actually.
Breathe that in?
Huh?
Wasn't it dangerous for you to breathe all that in?
When I was upstairs in my attic.
Yeah, so it's not psychic.
Yeah.
for you.
So there was only one. So how I found out is I was pregnant and I got up in the middle of the night to go pee, and I thought it was like a bird. And I was like, it flew in the bathroom and then back out.
What?
And I was like, Chris, I was like, get up. There is either a bat or a bird in the house. And I was like, and I have to pee really bad. And so like,
Wait a second. I need more information. So it came out of the attic? And like,
yeah, so this is how I found out.
That's a violation.
Yeah.
It's so weird that you have a bat story while you were pregnant, because when I was pregnant with Violet, I remember the house that we were living in, I woke up in the middle of the night and it was what I thought was a bat in the ceiling. And I woke Adam up and I was crying. I was like, oh my God, there's a bat in here. And it was the fire alarm. It was a smoke alarm. I was like, I can hear it. I know it's a bat. And he was like, no. And he turned the light on. Sure enough, it was the smoke alarm.
Thank God.
No secret. I have mice in my house now. I've mentioned it many times. It's ruining my life. But yeah, it's tough. But I'm in a city row home, and they're going from house to house. It doesn't matter like what we're doing, but I just hear like in the ceiling at night, and that's under control now. But it's very eerie to hear that when you're finishing up the dishes, getting ready for bed, and you just hear like scuttling in your ceiling.
Yeah. Did you get a cat?
Not yet. Working on it.
They say cats help. I mean,
Yeah, I think depending on the cat.
Yeah.
Some cats.
I would need to see a full resume of the cat's past
Full
skills.
Yeah. What kind of skills do you bring to the table?
Yeah. So yeah, we've had some actual paranormal creepy stuff and just some day-to-day creepy stuff. We see it all.
Yeah. Well, that was creepy. All right. Until next time, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of That Delaware Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at That Delaware Podcast and our team page at RosaioTeam_real estate. And of course, if you have any real estate or Delaware questions, feel free to reach out.